We had our opportunities. I don't want to get into there was an effort in game one. The guys were, they were doing a lot of things. There was a lot of things we did well, and we just needed to do more things better this game. The effort was great this game, but it wasn't an effort thing in game one. And, so I think the guys were good. They were committed. And now we got to go do it again.
Tonight we wanted to set the tone, just make sure they weren't going to be comfortable. We wanted to be physical with them, do it without fouling the course. That was just the main message tonight. It's just the aggressiveness that we didn't have from game one needs to be here game two.
We have to play harder. That intensity that they came out with, it wasn't a surprise to us. But they showed that there's another level that we have to get to. And they totally just dominated the entire game.
I mean, I take complete responsibility for what happened tonight. Taking care of the ball is something I got to be better at, and I will be better at it. So it's really just they just upped their physicality tonight, and we got to do the same.
We'll get a chance in Game 3. Giannis extended his postseason streak of 25-point games on 55% shooting to 5 on Friday. Over the last 30 postseasons, the only dude to do that, Shaq. Giannis arguably playing the best ball of his career this postseason. He scored over 25 in a playoff career best 7 straight games, and the Bucks even the series at 1.
We now welcome Stephen A. Smith to the show. Stephen A., Trae Young was coming off a 48-point performance in Game 1. Unstoppable. Tonight, totally different story. The Bucks just stopped him cold. What changed?
They big boyed him. They really, really attacked him. They created a lot of turnovers. The Atlanta Hawks didn't come out prepared for Game 2. It was almost as if they had the attitude, we got Game 1, so we did what we came here to do. We're good. And so they were sloppy. They were careless with the basketball. And here's all you need to know. Their leading scorer was Trae Young, who shot 37% from the field, had his worst offensive outing in this postseason, and was a minus 29 on the basketball court. That doesn't take into account that they were outscored 43-17 in the second quarter, 32 points in the first half. This was complete and utter domination, with the Milwaukee Bucks saying, we are the big boys. We understand how great you are, but you're a miniature dynamo, and we're not going to let you beat us. We're going to force somebody else to do it. And they were ill-equipped to do so, with Trae Young having such a struggling evening.
Yeah.
Really, pretty simple.
At no point was it even close. If you're Nate McMillan, what would be your biggest concern looking at that game?
Well, your biggest concern is the size advantage and the fact that you've got to do something about Giannis Antetokounmpo being able to go downhill whenever he pleases. Because what he's going to do is he's going to put himself in a situation where he's going to back up, he's going to purview the landscape of the interior, and then what he's going to do is going to attack the basket. And he's either going to lay the ball in, he's going to kick it out to an open three-point shooter, or he's going to make or miss the shot. That's really what it is. And one of the things that's very, very dangerous about what I saw tonight is that Giannis, even though he launched a 3 at the end of the first half, he was pretty content with just attacking the basket and scoring that way. And when he's in that kind of mode, he's able to galvanize his teammates, not to mention the fact that he creates open shots for guys on the perimeter, like a Drew Holiday who finished with 22 tonight, like a Chris Middleton who had a decent evening tonight, like a Brook Lopez who hit 6 of his 8 shots and hit 3 three-pointers as well. So when you have that going on, it's all started and ignited by Giannis Antetokounmpo attacking the basket, which is his strength. If he gets away from his weakness of trying to shoot perimeter shots and just becomes hell-bent on attacking the basket, the Atlanta Hawks don't have the size to offset and withstand that. So they're going to collapse, try to help out for him. He's going to kick it out to open shooters. And if those guys hit open shots, this ain't going to be a series. The same Atlanta Hawks team that looked capable of going to the finals and winning a championship in Game 1 is the same Atlanta Hawks team that could get bounced out quick, fast, and in a hurry if things don't change from what we saw tonight.
Absolutely. You have to think this Bucks squad, especially Giannis, feeling very confident right now. But now they head to Atlanta for Game 3. How do the Bucks approach this game?
Well, they got to take with the same mentality they have for Game 2. This ain't Game 52 or 55 of the regular season. This is the Eastern Conference Finals. A berth to the NBA Finals is at stake. And all they got to do is recall what transpired a couple of years ago. They had a 2-0 lead on Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. And then Nick Nurse, the coach of the Toronto Raptors, walked into the locker room and said, we have to make adjustments. And Kawhi Leonard at that time said the adjustment is that I will be guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo. I will be guarding the Greek Freak. And then he got up and walked out the locker room, and that was that. That's the kind of stuff that you want to see. The problem is the Atlanta Hawks don't have the personnel to make such a declaration and then back it up on the defensive end of the floor. Offensively, they can make a lot of noise because they can hit perimeter shots. Trae Young can create some problems for a lot of people that are trying to suffocate him and defend him. And if the Milwaukee Bucks don't trap him with a level of frequency, then he'll find himself in one-on-one situations where he could draw fouls, get the right guys out of the game, and that'll free him up to be in attack mode. That's pretty much what the Atlanta Hawks have at their disposal. They had that coming at their disposal into this series. They were smaller, but they could really, really shoot. They could play. They could hit shots from the perimeter. They're going to have to do that against the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're going to have to pray that those guys that Giannis kicks it out to either can't hit open three-point shots, or you just stay at home and let Giannis kill you with two-point shots all day long while you key up on everybody else and you hit threes and hope that that works. But there's a lot of hope and prayer involved when you're undersized as a team going up against a team like the Milwaukee Bucks.
Absolutely. We know Ice Trae will try to put on a big show and performance in front of his home crowd, but with the Bucks and what they did tonight, they're going to make it tough on him. Stephen A. Smith, thanks so much.
No problem. Take care.
Most important player in game 2.
Just Trae Young, just like he was in game 1. Let me remind everybody, 48 points and 11 assists. Let me remind everybody, cat quick with passing ability, and he can shoot long-range shots. At a 34% clip, ain't the greatest, but he still makes them when they count. Oh, by the way, he's a magician at drawing fouls, which puts defenses on its heels because they're scared they're going to get in foul trouble. Oh, by the way, he makes you change your game plan because you got to go small. Because you can't have somebody like Brook Lopez in the game because Trae Young will put him in pick-and-roll situations, forcing him to even come out and guard him, which he won't do because he's too slow for that, okay? Or, peek or tease like he's going out, but opening the floor up for an alley-oop to Clint Capella or John Collins. This is the bottom line. When you look at Trae Young, I said it before the series began, even though I picked the Milwaukee Bucks. Trae Young is the key. He cannot be spectacular. If he is spectacular, he's their only hope. If Trae Young is spectacular, Atlanta wins this series. I'm counting on him not doing in game 1, not doing the rest of the series, rather, what he did in game 1. Because if that happens, Atlanta's going to the NBA Finals. You've got to find a way to neutralize Trae Young. Drew Holiday, you can't try to get in the shootout with him. You can't try to score 40 just because you know he putting up buckets. You got to remember, you're there because you're the all-defensive team, first team all-defensive NBA. That's your job. Chris Middleton, excuse me, I thought you were a secondary option. Damn, we ain't asking you to be James Harden or Kyrie Irving, but could you at least be Chris Middleton as opposed to an imposter? Show the hell up. I mean, my God. You do have skills. You're about 6'8". You got a mid-range game. You can handle, you can shoot, you can score. Why don't you act like it? Because the Milwaukee Bucks are going to need that from him because Giannis in his perimeter game can't be relied upon late in the game. That's going to have to be Chris Middleton.
So, but your answer is Trae Young,
Trae
right?
Young. Trae Young is the priority. Most important player.
Okay. Because you ended, your natural flow of your thoughts brought you eventually to the right place. Which is, the answer is Chris Middleton. And the reason it's Chris Middleton is because he's not a superstar. Trae Young is a superstar. We all agree now. Certainly a top 15 player in the NBA. That guy you can rely on to be great. That's why he's a superstar. Same thing with Giannis. Giannis gave you what? Was it 34-12 and something game 1? Even when Giannis is bad, he's still putting up star numbers. That's why Giannis and Trae are superstars, because they're reliably productive. When we think they're not productive, it's at a certain level. Well, he scored 24 points and grabbed 10 boards, but he was inefficient, right? They can be relied on. But the reason I thought the Bucks would win this series is, as much as people in Milwaukee like to tell me that they have a big three, they do not, because these guys are not consistently great, Middleton and Drew Holiday. I did think that given the absence of a team like the Nets with Kyrie and Harden, they didn't have those guys available, that actually the Bucks would have in this series the third best player, Middleton. So Giannis would have the best help. He'd have the best crime partner. Middleton went 0 for 9 from 3. in game one. They lost by 1 possession, Stephen A. And you could talk about Drew Holiday's defense. He wasn't getting a lot of help, but he was scoring. But that's the issue with Middleton and Holiday. They're usually good and sometimes excellent, but they're not usually excellent. If they're great. If they were usually great, they would be perennial all-stars. Chris Middleton in the regular season, Stephen A, takes 5 or 6 threes a game, hits over 40% of them, hits like 90% of his free throws, gets to the line 4 or 5 times a game. He's got to be at least that guy. We can't be looking at this game 2 or this series and say Collins is the 3rd best player in the series. If that happens, the Bucks will lose. I think you can rely on Giannis to be a great big because that's what he is. That's why Shaq said he could take the Superman name because he recognized, and so did you, Stephen A. He's really a big dressed up as a wing, and he'll take it strong. And Trae, we already know. What will Middleton do? Will he step up or will he fade? If he steps up, the Bucks will win. He's the most important player in game 2.
Here's the reason I disagree with you, Max Kellerman. Drew Holiday didn't show up and play defense. Chris Middleton shot 6 of 23 in game 1, okay? If Trae Young doesn't have the game that he has, the Milwaukee Bucks still win this game. Everything is about Trae Young. If Trae Young explodes, Milwaukee loses. If you neutralize him, Milwaukee wins. See, Chris Middleton, we want this from him. We should demand it from him. He is in the midst of a $180 million contract, by the way. All of that's true. But even without it, you still win this game and this series if you neutralize Trae Young.
Oh.
The problem is you didn't do it in game 1. The problem is Philly didn't do it for 4 games. The problem is the Knicks couldn't do it for 2 games. Okay? That's the problem. You can't neutralize Trae Young. You neutralize him, you beat the Hawks.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't really, a superstar, Stephen A, usually will find out another way to hurt you. You draw a double and he'll find the open guy. Trae Young, what do you always say? Cat quick, right? And can kill you a lot of different. It's not just shooting. He's a team player. And by the way, as the leader of that team, what do we constantly hear this about the team? It's a real brotherhood. These guys, we hear it from the players, we hear it from the press in the area, we hear it from their fans. These dudes love each other, they play for each other. A lot of that has to do with their leader and the way he plays. He will fill it up if he needs to. If he needs to help you another way, that's what he'll do. So I don't think that you can really neutralize Trae Young. Yes, he doesn't have to score 48 points, but he'll hurt you in other ways.
The point is who's most important. What I'm saying to you is with or without Chris Middleton, Milwaukee could win. Atlanta can't do it without Trae Young.
No, well, they can't do it without Giannis either. My point is you can take for granted Giannis and Trae will play up because they are superstars. So I'm looking at everyone else who needs to step up.
But wait a minute. Giannis is around what he normally does, Max.
Yeah,
Giannis had like 34 and 12. Listen to me. Giannis is around 30 and 12, 30, 13, around that area. Trae Young is around 25. We ain't talking 48. That's the difference. That's what I'm saying. In other words, what I'm trying to say to you, if Trae Young rolls out there, Max, and he got 26, 27 points, he got 10 assists or something like that, I get your point. I'm not talking about that because that's what we expect from them. I'm saying with him, we're seeing explosions.
But
that can't happen.
All playoff series. My point is we have to look at Trae Young now, and we've seen a couple of these young guys in the last year or two do this. We have to look at Trae Young. I think we have to assume he plays up to the moment. He plays big with the chips on the line. So if he's 25 or 26 in the regular season, he's 30, 32 in the playoffs. Now, you're right, that's not 48. But he doesn't need to score 48 to beat this Bucks team if Middleton doesn't show up. Because you could say Giannis usually does this in the regular season. Trae does even better in the playoffs, but he's been doing that all along. Middleton doesn't usually shoot 6 of 23.
No. He's had Max. The knock against him is the inconsistency, not the ability.
Who?
The knock against Middleton.
Yeah.
The knock against Middleton. No, that's religiously.
Yeah.
Religiously on a night in, night out basis. Although the averages will be there.
Yes.
On a night in, night out basis, you don't know what you're going to get from it.
And that is my very point when I talk about the difference between a real big three. I look at Phoenix, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. I think DeAndre Ayton has elevated himself, and a fake big three. Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday. Middleton and Holiday are good players. They're not great players. And Middleton has to figure out a way to be the best version of himself tonight. And if he can do that consistently in this series, the Bucks will win. If he can't, they won't.
Stephen A., let me ask you this. The Bucks are favored by 8 when we're talking about stars and big threes and all that. Do you think Trae Young is the biggest star, the biggest draw left in the postseason?
Right now, he may be because of the way that he's playing. I would not have told you that if you're just looking at the teams on face value, and I would not have come out with his name. You know, I would have been a Booker guy. I would have been a Paul George guy. I would have been a Giannis guy. But based on the way they've performed thus far in the postseason, Trae Young has stole the show. Trae Young has sent the Knicks home. Trae Young has sent Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons home and got Ben Simmons on the verge of being traded. By the way, I got some information about that too, by the way, anytime y'all want it.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it
now. I want to hear it now.
You look at Trae Young, I mean, this is what he does. As it pertains to Ben Simmons, here's the reality. As it was reported, Rich Paul talked to the Philadelphia 76ers, and obviously he's Ben Simmons' agent, so you're going to want some involvement. Didn't ask for a trade, but certainly if Ben Simmons were to be traded, he wants some say in where he goes. That's what the reality is. And in the end, Philadelphia is trying to claim that Philadelphia is not interested in moving Ben Simmons. Let me tell y'all something. That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. Okay? It's just that they're not interested in getting trash back for him. You make a solid, bona fide offer. The Philadelphia 76ers are going to consider it. I believe the Golden State Warriors are going to make a push for Ben Simmons. Okay? So keep your ears tuned. Stay tuned. Ben Simmons, it's possible Ben Simmons can end up in Golden State with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. I'm not saying it's going to happen. All right? But calls have already been made. Things are percolating, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if something like that ended up going down. This notion that Ben Simmons ain't no way Philadelphia is moving him, hell yeah, they'll move him if it's the right offer. They won't move him for garbage. They won't move him for something that's not a good offer. But I'm telling you, I know a lot of people in Philly, as y'all both know.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, let them get the right offer. Ben's gone.
I'm looking at Trae Young. That's good info, Stephen A. I'm looking at Trae Young's numbers in the playoffs because he's made the playoffs 3 times in his career because the East is weak. And I'm looking in the regular season. Trae Young is the biggest star left in these playoffs because of the way he plays. Normally, he's 24-9, 24 points, 9 assists. He's a star, whether or not he makes the All-Star team. In the playoffs, he's 30-11. He's played in 13 games over the course of 3 seasons. This is not a fluke. This is who he is. He's a 30-11 dude when it matters most. He is, and Devin Booker, I think. You've identified him correctly without the face mask. You know, if it's really Devin Booker, that's his main competition. But since Trae Young always has the ball in his hands and he has a greater sway on the outcome of a game, in a playoffs with, we don't know if Kawhi will be there or not, Giannis, Chris Paul, Trae Young's the biggest star.
By the way, Stephen A., can Devin Booker not wear that? Or does he have to wear it because of the broken nose?
It's a broken nose. And so he reached out to Rip Hamilton and what have you, and Rip Hamilton gave him some advice. And the advice Rip Hamilton gave was that don't take the mask off. Keep it on no matter what. Keep it on when you sit down. Keep it on when you're practicing. Keep it on when you shoot free throws and stuff like that because you need to get used to it. He's got a broken nose. It's legit. And so he's probably going to have to keep it on, especially when you got a guy like Patrick Beverley defending you because he might hit you with his hands or he might hit you with his head. He's very, very aggressive, and you don't want that head to collide with that nose.
Don't blow your nose, Book. Your eyes will swell shut. Don't blow your nose.
Yeah, and they also lost Cameron Payne with the ankle. We'll see if he's back. All right, guys. Paul.